So, this video could get outdated very quickly, and I apologize for my voice. I am sick as a dog. Oy, 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 for all the dogs, eh? Yeah, we're gonna slow down the video production today because I cannot talk properly. With that being said, though, we do have ourselves a topic that I wanted to explore involving the Vancouver Canucks goaltending situation. Because heading into Game 2 against the Edmonton Oilers later tonight, the projected starter, according to the folks who had watched the practice, is going to be ARTURS SILOVS. Take a look at this tweet made by Kevin Woodley. 3 hours ago, he said that ARTURS SILOVS is out early with Ian Clark and working diligently on post-play alignment after getting caught a few times too steep in his reverse in Game 1, which left him stuck and with no chance or no real push even on the first power play goal. Now, that first power play goal, the only power play goal in Game 1, was the cross crease over to Zach Hyman. ARTURS SILOVS was caught, and he wasn't able to get across for that save. I mean, cross creases are so difficult to deal with anyway, so I'll give him the pass for that one, but it's very nice to see that the focus seems to be working on those post-to-post plays. Woodley then tweeted this out saying that SILOVS got the chat and he was first off, so he is your projected Vancouver Canucks starter for game number 2. And this was a conversation that I had with a bunch of my friends in real life when I was going over to hockey. Maybe that's where I got sick. I have no idea. But a lot of people would ask, hey, who do you go with? DeSMITH or SILOVS? DeSMITH or SILOVS? And for me personally, my reply was always, I think Rick Tocchet is going to go SILOVS. Because, you know, I, of course, am a big insider. No, just kidding. It's just, if I had to guess, I would say SILOVS. But if it was me personally and I had to make the choice, I'd also go for SILOVS. And a lot of this has to do with momentum and building upon what it is that you already have. I think Elliotte Friedman said it best that if Rick Tocchet and the Vancouver Canucks wanted to go with Casey DeSMITH, if they had the inkling that, okay, no, SILOVS is just the backup guy, our main guy at this point without Thatcher Demko is supposed to be Casey, then if that was their thought process, then we probably would have seen Casey DeSMITH suit up for the Vancouver Canucks in the third period of Game 1. The fact that there was an option to do so, you saw Kelly Hrudey on the broadcast saying, yeah, I would go with DeSMITH, and there was a little conversation from Canucks fans saying, yeah, no, I mean, SILOVS has not been the best in this Game 1, so if you wanted to switch it up, go with the other guy. Your first guy allowed 4 goals, maybe that is the right way to go about it. But as we inevitably ended up seeing, ARTURS SILOVS stayed. And not only did he stay, but he actually got the win. Now, sure, SILOVS himself is not the guy scoring the goals, so it's not really like he had a big part in the offensive productivity of the team, but he did shut the door after that bad Zach Hyman goal and was big enough when he needed to be to allow the Vancouver Canucks to hold on to that 5-4 lead. And with this in mind, you just gotta go with the hot hand. You go with whomever it is that you won Game 1 with, even though he was a little shaky, even though he didn't have his best game. Because right now, this is one of those moments where ARTURS SILOVS is getting wins and experience in games where he isn't playing fantastically well. Sure, Game 6 against Nashville, shutout. Sure, Game 5 against Nashville, it was a 2-1 loss, but he still played very well. Now, from Edmonton Game 1, we had ourselves a result from ARTURS SILOVS that was not great, but it still ended up with the win. And who knows what that can do for a guy's confidence, and for him to be able to adjust on the fly, you know, saying, yeah, no, this is Edmonton, this is not Nashville, they're very different teams offensively, so I kind of have to play them a bit differently too. Now, I know what you may be thinking, wait a minute, Casey DeSMITH was really good against Edmonton this previous season too, and that is correct, he was very good against the Oilers in the second game of the year, I'm pretty sure it was, and then the other game, the most recent Edmonton game where DeSMITH played without McDavid, that was a pretty good solid win as well. So Casey knows what it takes to play off against this Oilers squad. But because SILOVS got the win, because the Canucks already expressed a commitment to him by leaving him in for the third period in Game 1, it's not surprising to me in the slightest that they're rolling with SILOVS. Now, I will say, in Game 2, if ARTURS SILOVS loses and he plays well, I think he plays Game 3. If ARTURS SILOVS wins and he plays well, then of course he's playing Game 3. But if ARTURS SILOVS loses and he looks bad in the process, I think at that point you really have to start considering Casey DeSmith. Now, if ARTURS SILOVS wins game 2, but he looks bad, kind of in the same way that he did in game 1, honestly, I feel like you still roll with ARTURS SILOVS at this point, because if he can still put together results, if he can still be consistent enough with the team in front of him to get dubs on the board, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, right? Like, we knew Edmonton was not going to go down without scoring a bunch of goals anyway, so what's the difference between winning a 5-4 game or a 2-1 game? The Canucks are comfortable in those 2-1 games, but they can also come from behind and do some very good things in the high-scoring thrill fests. So for ARTURS SILOVS, until he loses a game and looks bad in the process, I don't think he's gonna not play. I think Casey DeSmith, unfortunately, like, you gotta feel for the guy in a way, because he kind of lost his job with something that was totally out of his control. The only reason Artie Party even got started was because Casey DeSmith got hurt himself. And it wasn't as hurt as Thatcher Demko's was, where he's missing out on significant time, but it was bad enough that he wasn't able to play in Game 4 against the Nashville Predators. So, seeing what Casey DeSmith had to go through, I mean, he plays very well in Game 3, ends up winning for Vancouver, and then he's hurt, doesn't play, the guy who's replacing him is very good, and the Canucks roll with ARTURS SILOVS the rest of the way there, and even into the second round. Casey DeSmith, I'm sorry, bud, but you are the backup at this point. And when Thatcher Demko comes back, I think it's going to be a really interesting decision as to whether or not it will be DeSmith or SILOVS on the bench as the backup. I wouldn't be surprised if the Canucks went either way, like if they just said, okay, Casey DeSmith is a little bit older, he's a little bit more experienced, we'll just roll with him, or if they go with ARTURS SILOVS because he's been better in a way, and they've already committed a certain amount of trust to him by consistently putting him in these games. Now, I will say when it comes to the way the team plays in front of them, because we have to recognize that players and teams, they do play differently depending on who is in net. I do think that the team plays a lot more of a defensive shutdown collapse style when ARTURS SILOVS is in net rather than when it's DeSmith. Like, they clog the middle a lot more easily, I feel, and they're also getting a bunch more rebounds. At least, that's what my general observation tells me. I think the Canucks play a little bit more of a projectable defensive game when ARTURS SILOVS is in net in comparison to Casey DeSmith. There's a little bit more pockets of space when DeSmith is there. Of course, for Thatcher Demko, when he's in, they don't really need to care about that because, like, hey, Demko can stop anything that moves. So a lot of their confidence is put into Thatcher, and you can see that in the way they try to break the puck out and how they control it in their own zone, etc., etc. Not to say that they're a bit more careless when Thatcher Demko is in, but they just feel a lot more safe. ARTURS SILOVS, because there's still that sort of high alert, hey, we want to protect our rookie goalie kind of mentality there, it leads to the Canucks playing a bit more attentively to their defense, I feel, and that ultimately makes them a better team. So I gotta go. My voice is killing me right now. I don't think I'm gonna say another word for the rest of the day until we make our post-game video later tonight. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about the ARTURS SILOVS Casey DeSmith conversation and where you think the Canucks should go from here. It looks like it's going to be SILOVS for Game 2 against the Oilers, but we'll see what happens as the series continues. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.